Maybe they also need to drive out and see the agriculture.
Oh my goodness.
His Excellency, the President. We can welcome him with a warm clap as you also warm up yourselves. It's a cold morning. Welcome, Your Excellency. With your permission, Your Excellency, I request that we remain standing as we start with a word of prayer. And at this point, allow me to invite Joanne Wainaina, who is going to lead us in the opening prayer for us to begin our session. Joanne.
May it be a symbol of hope, growth, and prosperity. Bless all those who worked towards this milestone. May this occasion inspire excellence, innovation, and uplift many lives. In Jesus' name we do pray and believe. Amen.
Let us kindly take our seats. Your Excellency, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, President and Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defence Forces, Honorable John Badi, Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury and Economic Planning, Honorable Soipan Tuya, CS Defense, Principal Secretaries present, Mr. Kiprono Kitonyi, the Chairman NSC, Mr. Tom Mulwa, Managing Director, Liaison Group, the banking fraternity, stakeholders and captains of industry, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellency, sir, with your permission to start us off on the speech session, allow me to invite the chairperson, Nairobi Security Exchange, NSC, Mr. Kiprono Kitonyi, to make some remarks. Let's give him a clap as he's coming to make his remarks. Welcome, sir.
Honorable Dr. William Samoei Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya, Cabinet Secretary present, led by the CS National Treasury, the Principal Secretaries present, members of the Board of the NSC, Chairman of Capital Markets Authority, captains of industry, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor and a privilege to once again host you, Your Excellency, at the NSC as we ring the bell to commemorate the listing of Lindsay 003 Infrastructure Asset-Backed Security. As a market, we deeply appreciate your steadfast commitment to the growth and development of Kenya's capital markets, an effort that has played a pivotal role in the remarkable recovery that we have experienced in the past 2 or so years. And Your Excellency, I want to announce also that we have had an equity listing last week. We have an equity listing again tomorrow. And the market has traded the highest value of bonds in recent history. As stakeholders in the sector, we can see firsthand the government's strategic focus on strengthening domestic capital and positioning the sector as a critical engine for accelerating Kenya's economic growth. Your Excellency, during your first visit here, a month after your inauguration, we bore the unfortunate distinction of being the worst performing bond in Africa. Today, I'm glad to say we are the best performing bond. And we have faced significant economic challenges, and we are able to meet the challenges ahead of us. Your Excellency, as we continue to transform the foundations of our market, we remain committed to addressing both the supply and the demand side challenges and have historically limited our market's growth and accessibility. Your Excellency, we've had many discussions, and I know today you have a lot to say. So we'll keep our remarks short, as it is your day, and we have also done something on the challenge you gave us on retail investors, and we will hear about that later today. Our goal is clear: to onboard 9 million active retail investors by the year 2029 through strategic interventions that address market access, financial literacy, and generally improving the overall economy. Your Excellency, as global capital activity seeks new frontiers, we are committed to positioning Kenya as a premier destination for foreign investment. And in that regard, we've made a lot of progress. Your Excellency, in conclusion, as we look ahead, we remain confident in the continued support of your government in our shared mission to revitalize and strengthen Kenya's capital markets. We are firmly committed to working hand in hand with all stakeholders, both locally and globally, to expand market access and to deepen liquidity, and ultimately position us as the leading and most dynamic, active capital market in the continent. Asanteni sana, and thank you once again, Your Excellency, for your very unwavering support to the capital markets and in all the endeavors that we are taking. Thank you, and God bless you.
With your permission, Your Excellency, allow me to now invite the Chief Executive Officer, Liaison Group, Mr. Tom Mulwa, to make some brief remarks. Let's welcome him with a clap, kindly. Welcome, sir.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya and the Commander-in-Chief of our Defense Forces, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, I beg to stand with the established protocol in view of time. Your Excellency, we cannot thank you more for once again honoring us with the bell ringing today. Last year, Your Excellency, when we celebrated the Suku issue, you left us with a challenge. The challenge was that the Sukuk was trailblazing, but we needed to scale our ambition in terms of the issue size. The Sukuk issue was $3 billion, 3 billion Kenya shillings, Your Excellency. And the ABS we are celebrating today is 44.7 billion, 15 times, Your Excellency. So on that score, I think we've kept our bargain, Your Excellency. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Now, early this morning, one of the leading financial journals issued a statement. And with your permission, Your Excellency, allow me to read the statement. Today at the NSC, Lindsay Finco, a subsidiary of Liaison Group, will be issuing a 44.7 billion high BS instrument. This is a trailblazing, groundbreaking, innovative, very sophisticated financial issue to support infrastructure in the country of Kenya. Why is it sophisticated? Because the science behind linking up risk, return, and impact is one of the most innovative solutions, not new in the world, but very difficult sometimes because capital is a coward. But the NSC and the capital markets fraternity, in support of this instrument, have been able to combine the three to be able to guarantee a return to investors and at the same time generate an infrastructural investment in the country of Kenya. Now, this is going to be trading for some time because it's not been done in East Africa. The last time this was done, Your Excellency, was the Gauteng train project in South Africa. So as a country, we are very, very proud that we've been able to pull this together. Now, Your Excellency, this has been done with the support of your government. At this point, Your Excellency, allow me to thank in a very special way CS John Bandi and the PS Chris Kipto from the National Treasury for pointing us to the MTP4 and the better plan as we build this particular instrument. I also want to thank them for making sure that we pay fidelity to the Finance Management Act and make sure that the instrument is off balance sheet. Thank you very much, Waziri. I also want to take this opportunity, Your Excellency, to thank the Ministry of Sports for donating this particular investment to the market for us to showcase an investment opportunity from it. So, Your Excellency, through you, we want to thank CS Muvuria and PS Elijah Mwangi, and by extension, SASDAF and the Sports Kenya for giving us very heavy support. We also want to thank the AG, Madam Dorcas Odwol, and the SG, Shadrach Mose, for pointing us to the relevant statutes in our Constitution to make sure that this instrument is aligned to the law of Kenya. They gave and reserved concurrence that we could proceed to issue this particular instrument in the market. So, Your Excellency, we want to assure you that we have kept fidelity to the law as we issued this particular instrument. We also want to thank Madam Soipan Suya and PS Patrick Mariru because they have been the implementing agent of the Talanta City Stadium. Your Excellency, the investors were very happy that our defense forces were actually the implementing agent. They were sure that we should be able to deliver this particular project in military precision. And investors always want to be sure that even if they put money, the impact will come out of this. So thank you very much, Your Excellency and Madam CS, for that particular effort. Now, an instrument of this nature, Your Excellency, requires the support of the entire capital market system. And we received 100% support from the financial services sector. And to this end, Your Excellency, allow me to thank the financial services authorities, in particular CMA, who issued their authority for us to issue, to list in record 1 week, Your Excellency. RBA, SASRA, and CBK also supported this initiative. But the bigger thank you, Your Excellency, is to the financial services sector led by KCB Bank. Paul Russo and his bank gave us technical support, listing support, and they put their skin in the game by way of investing in the instrument. CPF, led by Dr. Kili, also put their skin in the game by investing in the instrument. We had many banking partners, Stanchart, Stanbic, APSA, CoBank, Equity, and literally everybody in the banking sector came through. The fund managers, Your Excellency, came through as investors in this particular instrument. Our partners in KLO, EY, who are our audit partners, also gave us a lot of support. I want to thank Liaison Group and my partners at Liaison Group, led by our chairman, Mr. Washira Mayu, for the support, and the young boys and girls in the office who believed in this particular issue, Victor Chumo, William Mulwa, and others who supported. Now, Your Excellency, the most interesting part of this particular issue is because it received double A rating from the famous GCE Moody's company. So it is an investment grade as they come. So we are looking forward, Your Excellency, as you ring the bell, that we shall start trading on an investment for which Kenyans have put in their money. I want to commend, Your Excellency, in a very special way, the CASIP, the Kenya Investment Bankers and Stockbrokers, because like you advised last year, that we must always make sure that we democratize the stock market. These two investment bankers, Your Excellency, created a special SPV for retail investors to be able to aggregate their investment. It's a sophisticated investment, but we have created a pool, an SPV, where retail investors can actually invest. So Mama Boga and everybody else can actually buy stock in this particular issue. So we have opened it to everybody in Kenya, and we do believe this is the way to go, Your Excellency. So I leave it there, and we wish to have a very successful trade as we proceed. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, sir, at this point, allow me to now call on the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury and Economic Planning, Honorable John Badi, to make his remarks, and in turn, invite His Excellency, the President. Why don't we give him a clap as he's coming? Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. My colleague, sister, could you just say a word in a minute, and then I proceed.
This is total ambush, Your Excellency, my colleague, and our partners from the NSC and the private sector players. Your Excellency, mine is just to really thank the Mulwa and his team, and for really taking us through some really innovative financing ideas and models. We have sat through, we have learned a lot, and is also to thank my colleague, CS Mbadi, for the continuous support. Your Excellency, through these innovations, we are able to undertake projects of very serious national importance, like the housing program for our KDF officers. We are able to bridge the gap in real time without burdening the exchequer. And this partnership, Your Excellency, we commit to continue to support and to invite the private sector to work with us, because this Kenya belongs to all of us. When we find ourselves in a tough fiscal environment, I think this is where great ideas are born on how to push our country forward. I want to assure you, Your Excellency, with the partnership we have with Mulwa and his team, and CS Alice Wahome and PS Hinga, we are just about to finalize some housing units through the PPP model, again developed by Mulwa and his team. You will be handing over the first complete units at Roysambu. In fact, it's ready. We have a few, maybe 1 week or two to go, so that these turnkey projects that are becoming a reality because of the innovations that we are able to sit together and work with the private sector. Asante sana, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Waziri. Now, Your Excellency, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, PhD, CGH, the President of the Republic of Kenya, and Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces. My sister, CS Defense, Soipan Tuya, Chairperson, NSC, Kiprono Kitoni, CEO, Liaison Group, Tom Mulwa, other distinguished players in the capital market space, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and all protocols observed. Good morning. It gives me great pleasure to join the capital markets fraternity this morning as we celebrate a significant milestone, the listing of the first infrastructure asset-backed security on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Your Excellency, today's bell-ringing ceremony is a clear reflection of the growing strength and maturity of our capital markets, which are increasingly positioned to support diverse financial needs across both public and private sectors. Your Excellency, the government which you lead is increasingly turning to innovative financing mechanisms to fund large-scale infrastructure and public service projects. As the financial needs of the government continue to outpace available public resources, private sector participation has become a critical tool in addressing infrastructure gaps, enhancing service delivery, and promoting sustainable development. Some of the structures that we have earmarked for the deployment of private sector participation in public financing include asset-backed financing, otherwise known as securitization of public assets. 2 is privatization, and 3 is public-private partnerships, among others. So let me turn shortly and briefly to the state corporation reforms. Your Excellency, as directed, we are carrying out an economy-wide and state corporation sector-specific reforms and corporation-specific restructurings as an end in itself, and also in response to policy and business dynamics. The dynamics include the following. 1, the coming of age of the private sector that can deliver commercial activities more efficiently, hence part of the need for privatization of government-owned enterprises. And therefore, the need to elevate the role of government to one of policy and regulation to support commercial activities of the private sector, to avoid conflict at the commercial operations level. Privatization plan. Your Excellency, privatization of government-owned enterprises is a component of the wider economic reforms in favor of economic liberalization. And today, you have called it democratizing the wealth. Privatization of government-owned enterprises ushers in the private sector to take over the commercial activities that government-owned enterprises are undertaking. This is necessary because the private sector carries out commercial activities more efficiently than the public sector, especially in a competitive industry. The benefits of privatization include lower prices, better quality of goods and services produced, wider choices for consumers, more innovation, minimal red tape in decision-making, and less corruption. To safeguard these benefits of privatization, the government has a social obligation to maintain a fair business environment through appropriate regulations and policies. Already, Kenya has developed a fairly robust regulatory environment with the Competitive Authority of Kenya overseeing all sectors of the economy, supported by sector-specific regulators such as the Communications Authority of Kenya. Now, I want to give just a quick overview of the key successes of privatization, just mentioning 3. Over the period that Kenya has undertaken privatization of government-owned enterprises, notable successes include A. KenGen. KenGen was privatized through listing in the Nairobi Securities Exchange in the year 2006 through an IPO that raised 7.8 billion Kenya shillings. Subsequently, the company raised additional 54 billion Kenya shillings from the capital markets through listing of additional shares and issuance of a Kenya shillings 25 billion infrastructure bond. The company has benefited immensely by having KenGen as a listed company. The country has benefited immensely by having KenGen as a listed company. The ability to raise funds from the capital markets has helped the company fund major electricity generation projects, especially from renewable sources, enabling the country to produce most of its electricity from green sources. From the efficiencies built through infusion of private sector practices, KenGen has been able to stabilize electricity supply in Kenya by increasing installed capacity from 945 megawatts in 2006 to 1,904 megawatts in 2023, mostly from renewable sources and most of the financing coming from the capital markets. KCB. KCB Group was among the first owned enterprises to be privatized by the government of Kenya through issuance of shares through the stock exchange in 1988. 35 years later, the bank now operates in 7 countries, 598 branches opened, 33 million customers, and over 12,000 employees. The entire growth of the bank was financed internally and largely from raising funds in the capital markets. The privatization of KCB remains one of the key success stories in Kenya's investment optimization decision since independence. And lastly is Safaricom PLC. The government of Kenya established Safaricom in 1997 as a fully owned subsidiary of Telecom Kenya. The private sector was then invited to take a stake in the company through a 40% acquisition by Vodafone Group PLC in May 2000, and a public offering of 25% shares through the Nairobi Securities Exchange in 2008. So privatization of Safaricom has led to the company's growth to becoming a leading communication company in Africa with over 42 million customers connected to its network and supporting over 1.2 million jobs both directly and indirectly, while its total economic value is estimated at Kenya shillings 400 billion or $3.2 billion based on its 2024 audited financials. The company is one of the most premium stocks at the Nairobi Securities Exchange with annual revenues of close to Kenya shillings 371 billion or 2.8 Kenya shillings 371 billion or $2.8 billion as at March 2025. In closing, Your Excellency, as a ministry, we remain fully committed to supporting the growth and deepening of capital markets. We are keen to collaborate with all stakeholders in fostering an enabling environment that attracts investment, enables liquidity, and promotes financial inclusion across the country. Asanteni. Now, ladies and gentlemen, allow me at this juncture and put your hands together as we welcome His Excellency the President to come to the stage and address us and ring the bell. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Waziri. Please, and let's take our seats. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's quite cold here. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we gather here again at the heart of our financial markets, the Nairobi Securities Exchange, to bring the bell in celebration of yet another historic milestone. At the beginning of this administration nearly 3 years ago, I made a clear and firm commitment that we would build our nation by mobilizing local resources, encouraging a culture of savings, and channeling those savings into productive investments. The successful origination, structuring, and listing of the Lindsay 003 infrastructure asset-backed security, the first of its kind in Kenya, raising over 44 billion, is a landmark achievement by any measure. It affirms our confidence in market-based financing and demonstrates how we can sustainably fund large-scale infrastructure through our capital markets. This feat joins our G2G fuel supply innovation that many countries are now learning from us. The first ever asset-backed infrastructure securitization program that has raised over 175 billion off balance sheet, and our currency diversification strategy that is gradually reducing our borrowing costs. Today's listing reflects not only the deepening of our capital market, but also the innovation and sophistication now driving financial solutions that respond to the evolving needs of both the public and private sectors. Most importantly, it confirms our capacity to mobilize substantial domestic capital to finance strategic national priorities, reduce our reliance on external borrowing, and strengthen Kenya's economic resilience. The proceeds from this listing will directly support the construction of the Talanta Sports City Stadium, a compelling example of how financial markets can accelerate national transformation. The Talanta Sports City marks Kenya's first large-scale, purpose-built international stadium project in more than 40 years. The last comparable undertaking was the construction of Moi International Sports Center Kasarani, completed in 1987 ahead of the All Africa Games. Since then, Kenya has relied on aging infrastructure, with no new international standard stadium built from the ground up until now. With a 60-seater capacity, Talanta Sports City is not merely filling that long-standing gap. It is redefining the nation's sporting landscape. This modern, world-class complex is designed to host international tournaments, foster local talent, and restore Kenya's reputation as a sporting powerhouse. I commend the Nairobi Securities Exchange for the remarkable feat of facilitating 3 listings in a single month. This momentum reflects renewed energy, strong leadership, and strategic clarity. I also extend my congratulations to Lindsay, Finco Trust, and Liaison Group partners for their innovation in financial structuring. Ladies and gentlemen, the stock exchange is a critical gauge of economic health and investor sentiment. The strong recovery of the NSE, with market capitalization now standing at 2.5 trillion, reflects the soundness and consistency of our economic policies. Some of the choices we have made have not been easy, and at times not popular. But they have been necessary, they have been strategic, and forward-looking. These decisions have helped us stabilize the economy, restore investor confidence, and lay a firm foundation for growth into the future. Today, both local and international investors are looking at Kenya with fresh optimism and renewed trust. 2 weeks ago, during my visit to London in the United Kingdom, where 4 global giants, Lloyd's of London, Bupa International, Africa Specialty Risk, and Africa Finance Corporation signed their way into Kenya, I reaffirmed our commitment to expanding the depth and appeal of Kenya's capital markets. A key plank of this strategy is the diversification of state-owned enterprises through initial public offerings on the NSE, unlocking value, improving governance, and attracting long-term capital. We are implementing a structured, time-bound divestiture program, starting with the listing of the Kenya Pipeline Company. I expect the cabinet to grant approval to this IPO shortly, and the Privatization Commission this morning is working on the final approval, and by September, by God's grace, we will have that listing here. Ladies and gentlemen, there is compelling evidence that privatization is necessary to eliminate inefficiencies and raise the standards of governance in our public enterprises. While other nations in the region have moved boldly and strategically to divest and reinvigorate their economies, Kenya has not undertaken a single privatization in over a decade. That is about to change. To further strengthen our capital markets, the National Treasury is developing a minimum disclosure and listing framework for all public interest entities operating in Kenya. We are raising the bar to require public entities to begin disclosing standardized financial and operational data in line with capital markets standards. Within 1 year of initial disclosure, they will be required to list at least 20% of their equity on the NSE. This reform will promote transparency, improve governance, expand local ownership, democratize wealth, and give Kenyans the opportunity to directly participate in our country's economic success. The Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury will immediately establish an industry council to guide this process. The Secretary for National Treasury will immediately establish to guide this process on the appropriate legal instruments for adoption. I am told already that there is a committee of experts that has been set up, and I hope Waziri is going to work with the industry to make sure that the council is created, either out of the committee of experts or a much more expanded group. As I conclude, allow me to once again point out that transformation is happening all around us. The pledges I made to Kenyans are being realized one by one, day by day, pledge by pledge. And I remain committed to fulfilling every single one of them. Our economy is stabilizing and growing. Today, Kenya is ranked the 6th largest economy in Africa, up from the 8th 2 years ago. Inflation has dropped from 9.6 in 2022 to 3.8 today. The exchange rate has stabilized at Kenya shillings 129 to the dollar for more than a year, down from Kenya shillings 165. And foreign exchange reserves have climbed to $11.8 billion from $6.5 billion. Food production is improving. Maize output, for example, has grown by 50%. And farmer earnings for tea, coffee, and milk have also increased significantly. The affordable housing program is now active in all 47 counties, employing 320,000 Kenyans. And that number is expected to double in a few months. While our labor mobility program has placed 400,000 Kenyans in jobs abroad, Climate Works is onboarding 120,000 workers, and our ICT digital jobs framework has 180,000 people working and monetizing their talent. In the health sector, 110,000 community health promoters are assigned to visit our homes, while more than 25 million Kenyans are enlisted with SHA, bringing us closer to universal health coverage and ensuring that access to quality health is not the privilege of a few, but a constitutional right for all. Our education reforms are also taking root. The CBC transition is complete. We have employed 76,000 teachers in 2 years and will hire another 24,000 in January. Our new student-centered funding model now guarantees quality and sustainable education. Additionally, our public savings at NSSF that stood at Kenya shillings 320 billion 2 years ago will double to 640 by the end of this year as our plan on revolutionizing our savings culture takes shape. Ladies and gentlemen, some have accused my administration of over-promising or taking on too many challenges at once. I have this to say. Yes, I made promises. Yes, I took on many challenges that had bogged down our nation for far too long. This wasn't a mistake. This was deliberate and intentional, so as to match our leadership with our national ambition, to raise the standard, to adjust the bar upwards, and to up our game. As a leadership, we have made peace with mediocrity for far too long. That is why slums became homes, hunger became normal, health became a privilege, and jobs became a status symbol. I promised to change this, and that change is happening. Fellow citizens, we are an ambitious nation and an ambitious people. That is who we are. And leadership must rise up to meet that ambition. That is why I made a solemn and unwavering commitment to lead from the front. The truth is, I had no choice. We could not stand by and watch the country drift. We do not, and never have, aspired to be average. When we aim for excellence, the bar must be higher. And yes, aiming higher invites scrutiny from critics, suspicion from cynics, and doubt from their cousins, the naysayers. But that is the nature of bold reform. It unsettles the status quo and challenges the comfort of the known and the familiar. The critics may say I am wrong. The cynics may say I am lying. And the naysayers may even say I am mad. But what if they are wrong? And they are. Pause for a moment. What if I am an agent of destiny for the transformation of our nation, whose promise has been delayed for far too long? Pause. Reflect. Think. Give me a chance. And judge me fairly when the time comes. But we remain focused, purposeful, and committed to delivering what Kenya truly deserves. This is neither a gamble nor an experiment. It is a disciplined, determined, focused, and deliberate renewal of our nation's foundation. Even the most hardened, die-in-the-wool doubting Thomases will soon see a country reborn, a Kenya that dared to dream big, push harder, and break free from the chains of mediocrity. To paraphrase the Irish playwright and critic George Bernard Shaw, and I quote, "Some people see things as they are, and they ask why. We dream of things that never were, and ask, why not?" Please join me and the millions of patriots who believe in a higher standard for our beloved nation. And let us march forward boldly, unbowed, and first march into the future. This is my statement. But allow me to say two more things so that I can conclude. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a great nation. We have a great nation. It is our duty and responsibility to make it greater. I listen a lot to what people say about the present and the future of our country. I listened to one gentleman who retired the other day after working, I think, for 40, 50 years. And he wants to be president. And I listened to him say, Kenya is a failed state. And I asked myself, so for 40 years, you have been working in a failed state? So you want to be president of a failed state? Really? You want us to entrust you to the leadership of a country you don't believe in, to a people you don't believe in? And just for the record, companies like Lindsay, Liaison, an exchange like Nairobi Stock Exchange, the best listed stock exchange last year in Africa, they don't exist in failed states. I listened to another group of friends and Kenyans, brothers and sisters, who say Ruto must go. And for sure, just like those who were there before me, my time will come and I will go. Just like those who were there before me did. But respectfully, sirs, madams, let me ask you. So, what are your reasons for this Ruto must go? I'm sure it's not because of the spelling of his name. Maybe because you don't agree with the ideas, the policies, and the plan he has for our nation, which is okay. But please, would you kindly favor us with your counter plan, with your alternative plan? Because the more I listen, the more it is sloganeering. It's not about a plan, not about an alternative plan. And, hey, we cannot replace a plan you don't like with nothing. And I hear my brothers and sisters say, let Ruto go, then we will figure out. And we will tell you what is the alternative plan later. We cannot tell you now. To me, that sounds like the wash conmanship. Because if you seriously have a plan that does better on the economy than I have, that does better on health than I have, that does better on creating jobs than I have, that does better on education than I have, you should be bold enough to tell us. One term, Kasongo, Ruto must go, is not enough. And we are going to have a candid conversation. Nobody is going to corner us. Sorry, guys. You have to come up with a better plan. Slongaliering is not enough. The more I listen to them, the more they tell us, oh, let's go back to NHIF. Oh, let's go back to the old model, the NHIF that never worked. Let's go back to the old funding model that crippled our university education. Oh, let's abolish housing. Let's do away with SHA. And to me, they sound like people who are accustomed to the status quo, the usual, the familiar, the no change. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a great nation. It is our duty to make it greater. Thank you very much. God bless you, and I thank you.
A round of applause for His Excellency. A round of applause for His Excellency. Come on, we can do better than that. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. And that now will bring us, let's take our seats, please, kindly. That will bring us now to the climax of this session, which is the bell ringing. And allow me, Your Excellency, to invite the following to just flank you as we now get to the bell ringing. And I'll invite the CS Mbadi, CS Soipantuya, Mr. Tom Mulwa, CMA Chairman August Mohammed, NSC CEO Frank Mwiti, and NSC Chairman Kiprono Kitoni to flank you as we now get to the bell ringing session, which will be done by His Excellency. So once he has the bell, present it to His Excellency, we then shall proceed to the bell ringing, which is the climax, which will be the listing of the Lindsay Finco 003 Talanta Sports Infrastructure backed securities. So at the count of 10, we will then have the bell ringing. If we can have the countdown, and I would want us to count together. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The bell. Congratulations, and that now is the listing of the Lindsay Finco 003 Talanta Sports Infrastructure Asset-Backed Security now trading. And with your permission, Your Excellency, allow me for a wonderful photo opportunity with those who are there. But a second photo opportunity, let me invite Dr. Chris Kipto, Lawrence Kibet, Dr. Jose Akili, KCB CEO Paul Russo, CMA CEO Wycliffe Shamia, Mary Thuo, NSSF CEO and PSSF CEO for the second photo opportunity before we wind up with the national anthem.